What's up guys, Jivin back with another video. Today we're going to be doing what I learned from Benjyfishy. I recently did VOD reviews of his recent solo cash cups and some arena highlights. And so in this video I'm going to go over everything I learned and some stuff I'm going to try to apply to my own gameplay to improve. I'll add some highlights from his gameplay, but for the most part, you're just going to be seeing highlights from the Neymar Cup that I played in a while back. Before we start the video, please consider using code JivinTV in the item shop, or at least make sure you're using somebody's code in the item shop. It helps us out a ton. Now let's get into this video. So if you've ever watched Benjyfishy play, the first thing you probably realize is, wow, his sensitivity is really high. But in actual reality, his sensitivity is not high at all. It's 8.8 X and Y and 800 DPI, which is basically the same sense as me. The reason his sensitivity looks so high is just because he moves his mouse so fast. He brings all of his energy to all of his fights, all of his rotates, all of his builds, and so it looks like he has a high sense, but he actually doesn't. He just has a really flicky playstyle, which is actually really good to note. It's something that I've always tried working on in my gameplay. You need a lot of energy to do so, and if you have a heavy mouse, it's going to be tough to do. But let me explain why this playstyle is actually really good to have. So when he's building, he takes the least amount of time possible to do it, then instantly pulls his gun back out and is ready to shoot the opponent. By doing this, he spends the least amount of times in his actual building mode and has his gun out for most of the fight. That way, anytime he has a visual on his opponent, he has his gun at the ready and can take a shot. While the average player that doesn't build as fast doesn't have their gun out as much and miss a lot of opportunities to take shots. He flicks his builds into place, has his gun ready, and is always ready to shoot. It's very flicky, but when I say flicky, I don't mean he's taking a lot of flick shots. I mean that he's flicking his mouse around to get these builds in place fast, and then when he pulls his gun out, he flicks it to his enemy, but he doesn't take a flick shot. He just instantly lines his crosshair up with the enemy as fast as possible, and then does micro adjustments to hit his shots. Clix has a very similar playstyle. He'll build really fast and then line his crosshair up with his opponent and then do micro adjustments to hit his shot. This is something I want to get down so badly and I'm going to keep on practicing it. Another reason this is a really good playstyle to have is it's really good for tracking the opponent. If you're able to bang out the builds as fast as possible and then pull your gun out, you'll be able to spend more time tracking your opponent than worrying about building. The players that are able to get this down are way better in fights because one, they build so fast, they're the most comfortable builders, and they never lose track of their enemy and hit more shots. It's just all around a really good playstyle to have if you can master it and control it. That's the main thing, being able to control while moving that fast. Now I spend a lot of time talking about that just because it's really important and I'm trying to get it down. But let's talk about some other stuff that I noticed him doing during fights that worked really well. If he's pushing up against somebody else's wall, he's always ready for them to edit on him. For example, if they set up a peanut butter peek, that top right triangle peek, the way he counters it is by doing a fast crouch and walk to the side. That way, if the enemy goes for a peek shot, he dodges their shot, or at least throws them off a little bit and doesn't get hit as hard. When I'm in a 50-50 in-game, I try to bob and weave so my opponent misses shots, but I don't always think to do that when they're taking a right-hand peek on me, so that's something to keep in mind. I talked about this before in my Mr. Savage video. If you try to pull out your gun while running an edit course in these laggy lobbies, it's going to be really tough to actually hit your edits just because of the lag. So when I'm in a laggy lobby, I've been trying to build the mindset to not pull out my gun while edit coursing, and I definitely recommend this to everybody. I also noticed at one point in his gameplay, he was weak and the opponent was hardcore pushing him, and so instead of healing, he went to box up his opponent and then he went for his heals. Once he got the opponent full box, I was like, oh, now he's going to try to go for a peek shot, but he's really weak, so I don't know if he should. Sure enough, he just went and healed. So if you're ever getting psychoed and you have an opportunity to box up the opponent, do that, get in a new box, and heal up. It'll definitely throw your enemy off because they'll think you're pushing them, when in reality you're just trying to get some heals off. And then another fighting technique I noticed is he does extra wide edits when they're running out of a box. Sometimes I'll go for a window edit, and because they're running out of a box, they escape my point of view and I'm not able to see them while they leave. But when I saw Benjyfishy edit a super wide edit when they're running away, it exposes their entire box and he was still able to get a shot off on them. This only works though if they have their back completely turned to you and they're trying to escape. Because obviously if they're looking straight at you with their gun pulled out, they're going to have a free shot on you if you open up a super wide edit. So those are some of the things that makes him insane with fighting. Obviously, he has insane mechanics, insane aim, all that, but these are a few of the strategies I picked out. Now, one of the biggest things I've been trying to improve on is my late games in cash cups. So I'm going to go over some of the stuff I noticed in his late games. One thing that I noticed him do a lot is just building up at random points in moving zones. It'll give him a better point of view of everybody around him and help him find a better lair. And this is something I don't do very often, but I don't know why I don't do it, because it works so well, and Benjyfishy is a great example of this. Basically, at random points in his rotates, he'll just start building ramps up and put walls to his sides to block his angles, and then sometimes he'll go back down, back up, until he finds a good lair. But he does it really safely. He's not going to get fried while doing this because he does it very protectively. And that's one of the biggest things I need to work on. I have trouble finding good lairs in late game, and this is one of the best techniques that I saw. This also gives him a really good point of view, not just for a good lair, but also to find refreshes. By building up, he has a better view of everyone around him, and he can see when people get cracked nearby and then jump in their box. I noticed so many times that he got refreshes by finding somebody who was one-shot, jumping in their box, and just hitting a little 20 damage pump and getting the kill. And in my head, I was like, how does he keep finding all these one-shot players and getting all these free refreshes? And one of the ways is just building up so he has a better point of view. But another way is with his really flicky playstyle, he spends less time worrying about his tunnel and more time scanning the area with his gun out. That's another reason that playstyle is so good. Benjy's a really aggressive player, and there were times where he was going for refreshes while he still had like 1,000 mats, which didn't seem very smart to me, but obviously he has a lot more confidence than I do. Personally, I don't think it's really necessary to go for a refresh until you're down to like 300 or 500 mats, but Benjy's a goat, so who am I to judge? I want to point out two really insane high ground plays that he used. So one of the plays is he had peppers and floppers. And so what he did was pop a pepper, wait in storm, pop floppers, and then he literally could build a ramp up to high ground so fast because he was peppered out. This is one of the freest high ground retakes I've ever seen, you know? Just peppering up to high ground, it takes 2 seconds, and surprising them from behind in storm. If you ever have peppers and floppers, keep this play in mind. And then another high ground play he does with peppers is he'll get all the way to front side of zone, pop a pepper, and then the high ground players are usually on the back side of the moving zones. And so he'll pop that pepper and start ramping up to high ground on the back side from the front side. He's able to get up to their lair really easily by doing this. And then once he hits a nice pump shot on them, cranks up a few more layers, high ground is secured. I'm gonna have to try going for high ground like that next tournament. And then I talked about this in Mr. Savage's Cash Cup video as well. When Benjy gets weak in late game, he doesn't heal immediately. First, he finds a new lair and gets safe, and then he starts popping his heals. If he pops heals right where he got cracked, he's probably going to get lobby focused. So he uses a lot of mats to get somewhere safe, maybe finds a new lair, and then he pops his heals. Last thing to note about Benjy in Cash Cups is his awareness is insane. He's constantly aware of how much ammo he has in his guns, exactly how many mats he has, whether he has a harpoon in his inventory, everything. He's just keeping tabs on all parts of his loadout. And this is really important, especially in moving zones. It's so crucial to pay attention to everything you have in your inventory. It's a skill that takes practice, but once you get this down, you'll be so much better off in late game. You can practice this in zone wars and scrims, but you gotta get awareness down of how many mats you have, all that stuff. That way you can make plays and always know what you have while going for certain plays. It's definitely the most useful skill to have while playing in tournaments. So yeah guys, hopefully this video helped you out. Benjyfishy is an absolute GOAT. If you're wondering about the videos I watched his solo arena domination video and then his 2 most recent solo Cash Cup videos from around 4 weeks to a month ago. But yeah, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. I'm going to try to have some videos coming out soon where I'm playing like Benjyfishy, maybe in a solo Cash Cup and in some arena games. So stay tuned for that. Also, don't forget to use code JivinTV in the item shop. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.